Well, well, well. Hello. I think the mic's working this week, fellas. I think we got it. Exception Axel says, "Would you be mad if I was the king?" Um, I would actually. I would object because I am the king, obviously. King John, King John the Feline. That's my job to be king. Okay. Hey Cosmic, good to see you. Man, Cosmic's chilling over here in Twitch chat. That's awesome. We need more people in Twitch chat. I need to work out. I don't understand Twitch. I don't get it. Everyone says you got to be on there, but like, does anyone watch game dev streams on Twitch? Because the ones I do see, it's just guys playing games. Like I was looking at the category and I'm thinking, man, am I doing something wrong here with my streams? Am I not working hard enough? What's going on? And then I look at like the top category people in software and game development and they're just playing World of Warcraft. I'm like, oh, well, that's not software and game development. But I don't know, maybe that's what I got to do to get the Twitch money. I got to start playing video games. Man. First, I just need to buy some video games. Here's a better idea. I finish my game magically in one day, and then I stream me playing my own video game and become the top streamer. All right, that's going to be the long-term goal. That's going to be the goal. I can't be bothered to buy other people's games, so the goal of me finishing this game is going to be so that I can be a Twitch streamer playing my own game. That's the end game. Somebody sounds a bit sick. No, I'm just baritone, okay? Or it could be that... Okay, hold on, let me get the camera on. I think enough people are here, I can turn the camera on now. Oh. There we go. Wait, hold on. This button is supposed to mute my mic. But it doesn't. Huh. Interesting. Some keybind must have broken. But yeah, so I've because this microphone I got, it came with a bigger pop filter, and I thought I'm gonna swap it out and try this on, because every time I've been trying to record for this video, my what are they called? My plosives are too loud. And I'm like, well, I could learn proper technique, which I thought I was already doing, but it's still too loud. And I'm like, all right, well, it came with this bigger filter, so that could be why my voice sounds different. Who are you? What happened to Royman? Royman's gone. Okay, the camera's working. We can put Royman away. We can put the Royman PNG away. Cosmic says the mic is much better. Thank you. Sadly, it came at the cost of early 2000s Royman. Yeah, it did. Model optimizations. Yeah, so this week, well, I've made a bits of progress all around the place this week. I did have some like other errands I needed to run and a bunch of paperwork I've been trying to work out, so it's not very exciting, but the fun stuff, I'll show you some of the fun stuff, and then I want to do some progress on this scene for the redesigning Gabby's armor during the modeling process. I've been wanting to work on that all week, but I'll show you some of the other stuff I've been doing in the other visual design department and website department. So that menu concept I was doing... Oh, wait a minute. Let me get that in a... Oh, no, it's not what I want. I want this here, I want that there, and I want that there. Okay. So, this might need to be louder. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so the UI concept, I tried making menus out of those now. So for those that weren't here, I'll show you what I had made. I think I had showed you guys this sort of HUD concept, and I designed it to be like, you know, specifically appealing at standard definition and not high definition. I picked out better fonts, better colors, better iconography. And then I wanted to take it a step further, and I went, what if I... Like, because I'm going to need the whole menu to also look the same. So I think I had done the background and I was doing some like text stuff. I think that's what I had done. But I've tried to take it a bit further since then with like more visual because I think I just had the text on screen before, and now I've got actual visual accents around all the elements. But there's something about the proportions that's still bugging me about it. I think the text might be too small, because I also tried doing like a settings menu in this visual style, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like 10 options you can see on this list of settings. And I've been looking at other games and their menus, and I've noticed this pattern where they all have about 7 options visible at any given time. Or 6 or 7, and no more or less than that usually. And I've got 10 in terms of like the amount of stuff, like rows. It's too many, I think. I need to increase the font size and like space this out more. There is a reason why it's like 7. Do I want to? I don't know. It's a visual design thing. Basically, the number 6 is the magic number for visual in terms of quantity, because if you have 6, you can see 6, and you don't have to like put in any cognitive work to know that there's 6 things on the screen. But if you do more, then your brain has to suddenly count. It has to go, oh wait, okay. Like if you glance at this, you can't immediately tell how many there are. You actually have to start counting them. But if there's 6, you can just see it already. Like if I try and crop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if I crop the rest of this off, you'll see what I mean. Your brain you will not have to count it with your fingers. You just know. It's like, oh, okay, this is like that amount. You just instantly know that that's 6. So and it's way more brain power to start trying to count them. And with 7, because you'll notice that some games will have this thing in their menus. I did collect more reference for some other games that do this. I don't know how to get this in Unreal yet, to how to do it like this, but there are certain... I was looking at Ratchet Deadlocked, and the interface design in this is incredible. This is like peak interface design. But in the interface for this game... I don't know how many of you have played it, but they have a lot of these menus, and you will notice there's 1, 2, 3, there's like less than 6 menu items on most of these. But what you want, and maybe 5 is actually a better number, because what you don't want an even number, because if you have one of these types of things, if you see this box, this gradient box, so that moves over the different options when you move the joystick, and it'll also like track. So if it goes to the middle and then you go down again, the box will actually stay in the middle and the options start scrolling until you reach the bottom. It's really well animated, really cool. But to do that, to have that list go top, and then middle, and then down when it gets to the bottom. To have it in the middle, you need an odd number of list items, because if it's even, it'll be sitting above the middle of the box. So, because that's how odd and even numbers work. So, I don't know. I just thought, like, reference-wise, because I was looking... Because these are some of my favorite interfaces I've seen. And now that I've got the grid thinking cap on, I've been grid-pilled, you could say. I'm starting to notice that they all use a similar design ethos for all of this. And because I played these games when I was, like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old, and I didn't notice. But that's kind of the point, right? Is that you're not meant to notice how well designed it is, but it is really well designed. So I thought, man, I want to do like that with like the Japanese aesthetic, with the Western design ethos for menus and my own twist. So I have that for the HUD, but the menu still needs some work, I think. And I tried to do... Because once I figure this out, I'll be able to then apply it to the site. Because I want the site to have the same rules, the same visual theming for the Project Feline section. But I thought, well, I should actually figure out how I want to segment up contents first, just in the game, and then translate that to the web. So that, in terms of visual stuff, that's kind of it in terms of like getting that sort of, more finalized and looking professional and not just like an amateur indie game. So, yeah, what do you guys reckon of that? I X and S. Expan Access says, I think your approach to games and art and the mindset of is really healthy for inexperienced game developers. Current game dev YouTube is not like it used to be. It's over commercialized. I mean, yeah, that's a big topic. Yeah, it's a big topic. Thank you. Yeah. Look, as I think one thing that maybe you guys can help me with here that I'm trying to do really hard is to kind of, over time, slowly change game dev YouTube culture. Because I am kind of not happy. Because, I don't know, the people who I've watched, who I've heard of, don't do things like this. They don't think about this. They don't care about, like, what the kerning size of the font should be or what the line width should be. But and I know it sounds crazy. Everyone tells me that I'm crazy. But when you look at the professionals, they do this stuff. The people that really care, like not the professionals today, the professionals 20 years ago that inspired people like me or people like you, the people that created the great stuff that birthed a new generation of people that wanted to do this for a career. These guys thought about this stuff, and I wish this was just normal. It was normal 20 years ago, but for whatever reason, I don't know, like the people I know that are like connected or whatever, or like any other type of person I watch, like none of them are, I don't know, they just don't care about it. I don't know. Like I think you should care about it. I can't explain why you should care about it, but I just know that you have to. And I can't explain why, but I know that if you don't care about it, the players don't care. Like you lose something from the player because the player is going to be that much more apathetic. So thank you. But yeah, dude, it'd be so cool if in like 5 years from now, I finish my quest, and then like every game dev YouTuber is all obsessing over design fundamentals. That'd be awesome. That's the future I want. But you got to actually you got to walk the walk. So, Mongo says, just go EA route and fill the entire screen with UI. Like flashing messages and warning. Yeah, no thank you. I'm not doing that. Hey Jinx, hello from Spain. Awesome. I didn't know I had viewers in Spain. What is that? Hold on. Modern game dev YouTube looks like those games they made for TV shows to communicate the fact that the character is playing a video game, says Coesta. And then Expan says, Jesse Pinkman playing Rage with a light gun. You know Jesse Pinkman is a Sonic fan, by the way. I remember one of my favorite episodes when he's with Brock. He's playing Sonic 06 with Brock, and that's when I knew that Jesse was one of us. So Jesse, as busy of a life Jesse has, he would appreciate this. Because he's got good taste in games. He would look at this menu. He'd buy Project Feline. We all know Jesse Pinkman would buy this game, and he would look at this and go, "Yo, Raymond, that's the bomb." That's what I live for. I'm putting in all this work just so that when I meet Jesse Pinkman, who is real, okay, I know everyone says he's fictional, but he's a real person, I want to take this to Jesse Pinkman, and I want him to say, it's the bomb. That's what it's all about. So, speaking of the bomb, because I gotta get some editing done so I can make videos about this model, which is hopefully the bomb. Mongo says Jesse also ended up chained to it. No, but he escaped. Okay, he's in Alaska now, and he's probably really bored, and he's going to need something to do to occupy his time. And what better way to occupy your time in Alaska to, heal from the trauma of the Breaking Bad timeline than to just play a few levels of Project Feline? I mean, Jesse needs this game. Okay, he needs some nice entertainment that's well made. Because he doesn't have all his old games anymore. He had to leave them in Albuquerque. He doesn't have his Xbox. So he's going to have to buy like new gaming equipment, and he's going to need new games like this. So that's what it's all about. Yes, this whole time I've been making this game for Jesse Pinkman. Oh, hey, Cosmic. Will native 120 Hz refresh rate support come? It's already there, if that helps. So yes, it runs at more than 120 hertz on my machine. I don't think you can. I do have the opposite problem. You can't actually run it at anything that isn't the native refresh rate of your monitor. So if you run the game at a 60 hertz monitor, the game will run at 60 hertz. If you run it on a 140 hertz monitor, it'll run at that. I don't actually have a setting to change the hertz, the refresh rate. I do have a frame rate limiter, but I know that isn't quite the same. So yes, it has native support for whatever refresh rate, but it only has native report for the native refresh rate. So I don't know if at some point later I'm going to be required to make an option for it or something, but that's not a pressing issue at the moment. Will the game have bosses? No, I can't. I don't like bosses in games, and I can't be bothered to make them. I know it would sound cool, right? Because it's like, oh, for the story, like she fights a boss. But I don't know, games that are like this, when there's been a boss fight in it, I never go and replay the boss fight. I always, if I have to replay the game, if I lose my save file or something, I have to replay the boss. I always just skip. I'm like, oh my god, another boss. I don't want it. And I just try to skip through it as fast as possible. And I'm thinking, well, if that's how I treat bosses, I shouldn't invest any of my time making my own version that people are also just going to just want to skip over, you know? So, yeah. So I don't have any plans to add bosses. And I probably wouldn't do a good job coding, because you need good AI coding, and I'm not very good at AI, so... Anyway, and she was gonna need. So this is the long-awaited Gabby model devlog. Thanks everyone, by the way, for waiting so patiently for this one. It has been a very difficult episode because it's both very technically and spiritually complicated. But this particular part, I just want to focus on this scene where I'm talking about Gabby's suit, and I think there's going to be bits of B-roll I'm going to have to go and find. But at the moment, I've got a bit of narration and a bit of footage of when I was doing it on the day. And I should have some other clips of me modeling, because this is just the concept. And now I'll have other clips of me actually modeling this thing. So I want to start editing this together and just, I guess, show you guys how this editing process kind of works and show you a bit about this model at the same time. So, I don't know if I can... My audio should hopefully be better this time in terms of the volume. I'll have to just check to make sure my desktop audio is plugged in. Yeah, okay. So, if I play this, I think I have to turn down my headphones and turn up the... Yeah. So I'll play this and just show you the current version. There's going to be a lot of gray on the screen. That's because I haven't found footage for the voiceovers yet, but this is how it is. After the hair, I moved on to her suit. Now, my original plan was to get the suit from her previous model and just resize it a bit and put it on a new model. But when I tried doing it, I found that it didn't fit. Like, it just didn't fit her anymore. It looked goofy. And I thought, oh no, is she going to need a new suit? And she was going to need a new suit. So I've got a sketch here of the current design. Now I can see a bit more easily just how kind of bulky it is. So I did a sketch of a more simplified version, and then I tried another variant down here. I think a more angular form. It'll make Gabby look a bit more graceful as she moves. With the original, I can see now why this was awkward. I didn't quite like how bulky these bits got, especially here, when you compare them to the knee. So I tried to do something a bit more tapered, and it actually sits a little higher to allow for the knee pad, but it kind of tapers down. Instead of having this big bit on the side, I've rotated it around to the front. I remember a few times where bending the hips with this in the way was getting kind of complicated. This would always clip into her hip. So I thought, all right, well, let's try and maybe move that somewhere. I've pulled it down a bit and rotated it. I've also tried to make sure that the bits... Oh, thank you so much, RC Studios, for the $1.99. Hey, been watching since episode 1. Thoughts on testers. Hold on. It's meant to do TTS. Is the TTS actually working? Because I just read it there, but I didn't hear the TTS go off. So you guys let me know if you heard any TTS. But it's meant to read it out automatically. But I didn't hear it. Any thoughts on testers? Oh, you mean like game testers? Well, I do have some thoughts, and seeing as you're so kind to donate, I will tell you some of my thoughts on testing. So at the moment, at the moment, I'm in a bit of a tough spot development-wise. That's why I kind of just want to focus on getting the video and the website together, because testing, well, there's a lot that goes on with testing. I know that with AAA companies, there's like a whole, like, I don't know the first thing about how actual pros do game testing. I know that there's actual proper procedures to do. However, I have seen cases where people had professional testers and the game still turned out junk anyway. So I don't know really what's going to happen. But what I want to be able to do at some point, because ultimately, I don't just want to put out free builds, because I can't afford to do that. Like, I have to make a living, and making games is not, it's not financially rewarding, let's say. Or if you want to do it the way I'm doing it. It's financially rewarding if you want to make PlayStation Store spaghetti garbage, then sure. But that's not what I want to do. So I am taking a bit of a punishment by not, by doing it in this super autistic way, you could say. And the plan is at some point, because I want to try and I've been trying to look for more things to help get more funding behind the project. I've looked into publisher stuff. I've looked into more grants, but I don't have a good feeling about a lot of them. So I've got something else in mind. I've been cooking in the background for a while, but it relies on the demo of the game being flawless. And that's still going to be a bit of work. But once the demo is sort of there, I'll be able to investigate this other plan I've got cooking. And that might involve testers at some point down the line, because I'd be able to, afford to build the rest of the game at that point. Because there's no point in getting testers if you can only build one level. I can test one level kind of fine on my own. I can sort of test the mechanics, but I think I think for a demo, people are more forgiving if things are not perfect. But if it's for the full release, when there's going to be more than just the one level, you're going to need to have it, it has to have gone through people's hands. But to get the game to the point where it's that complete is going to take a while, because it's expensive stuff to make a good quality game. So there's a lot of stuff I've been planning that I don't want to go into yet, because I don't want to set expectations. But I am cooking something in the background to as a strategy to approach all of this, but it's going to take some time still. The things that have to happen for this plan to go forward is that the devlog series has to get caught up to the present, because I also need the more videos I release, the more I can afford to work on the game. And the devlogs are very behind. They're about a year and a half or almost 2 years behind where I'm actually progress-wise at, because I've just been so busy. I haven't had time to make all these big videos. But this is one of them about the Gabby's model, and then there's going to be 3 more episodes about other aspects, like the level design and programming systems, and probably the UI stuff and everything. And then once that's done, and the website too, I want to have that out as well as part of this strategy. So I know that all the stuff I've been doing lately seems kind of side questy adjacent, but it's all converging into this one direction I want to head in that will allow me to then do testers and all that sort of thing in the future. But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on it in terms of how I want to get there. And yeah, I want it to be a limited group. I don't want it to just be anyone, because one thing I struggled with a lot at the start of development was too much feedback. And I know that might not sound like a problem. It's oh, well, you got so much opinions from people. Isn't that great? There is a point where it can get too much and you have too much input. And if you're not built to take in that much input, if you are very, if you get sensory overload like I do, and you just need very limited input, then that is not going to go so well. If you're very kind of neurotic, you don't want too much input. So I learned that through the earlier years of Project Feline, that I want to limit the amount of feedback I get. Not necessarily because I want it to be, oh, I just want people to say it's good. It's not like that. It's more like most of the, because you can't please everybody. You have to focus on just one group, and that group has to be the most, the people that you're making it for. It has to be like people will have the preferences you're after, but also people that won't just lick your boots and will tell you if it does not meet the goal. And the problem is, if you just release free builds, most of the people playing it don't know the goal. They just see the result. And it might suit some people. Like, some people said that they really liked the open world direction. Some people said they really liked, they wanted more power-ups or something. Some people said they really liked the slower movement. Some people said they liked the faster movement. And it's like, well, if you've got all this contradictory feedback, because I don't know how it looks, because to you, it just looks like you're giving your opinion. But if it's from my point of view, I'm getting like mixed signals from thousands of people, which is a lot. So I think what you got to do is you got to kind of comb it down to just, that the opinions you're getting are from people that want the same thing as you in terms of taste, aesthetics, and gameplay. Like, the game that you want to make is the game they want to play. But that doesn't necessarily mean the game you have made is the one they want. So you want to have those people that that they want what you want, and they will be able to judge what is against what should be, against what they want. So that's, I don't know. But yeah, so I had to learn that lesson a lot just through the itch build. That's why I haven't really posted much to itch anymore, because it was just too much. I do appreciate it. It's not to say that I'm complaining that, oh, Raymond's complaining he's getting too much feedback. But no, it's not like that. It's super, super lucky and grateful. I didn't expect it. But it is, to a point, I have to be responsible and say, look, it does feel nice to get all this interest and feedback, but is it helping the game? Or is it better if I limit it? You know how everything we've been doing lately has all been limiting. And that's made things better. Limiting the resolution, limiting the colors, limiting... Even in this video, I'm limiting the amount of detail on the thing. And I think getting feedback is the same, where you have to limit it down to a certain group that aren't necessarily like the fanboys necessarily, but the ones that are kind of the most useful critics and also want the same thing as you. But yeah, finding those people is difficult, and I have to do it in a certain way that creates a natural barrier. So I won't be doing like free builds or anything like that. And I also need something that is sustainable, that I can actually like, that can facilitate me making, because then you have to listen and actually implement that feedback, which takes time. So I do have something I'm working towards to accomplish all of those things, but it is a difficult task and it does take time. But I'd rather do it right than do it like quickly, if you know what I mean. Because there was a last little story to answer this question, because there was a group I knew that did get Microsoft to play test the game. And that sounds really cool. It's like, oh man, you guys got Microsoft to QA your game? It must be so high quality. It must be amazing. But it didn't help. Like, it didn't actually make a huge difference, because the game... I think I've talked about this game before, but it was this team that I was really close with that had spent like 4 years working on their own. They had their own studio. They had like employees. They had managers. They had the grants and everything. And they had Microsoft QAing for them. They had it all, okay? And I don't have any of that. These guys had it all, and they still failed. The game still sucked. The game was still buggy. It still, disappointed customers, even though they had all of that stuff. So the way I see it is you can't just go to Microsoft and say, test my game, because obviously it takes more than just that. You have to have a certain attitude about it. You got to like pay attention to it. And I don't know, like I'm curious what more there was to that story, because there's probably stuff I don't know about. But I think one of the issues with that, there was a mismatch in expectations between what Microsoft thought they were going to do and what the studio was actually going to do. Because I think Microsoft thought it was going to be an early access game, and it wasn't. It was just going to release. And I think that created a huge mismatch between the feedback they were getting. But I don't know. It didn't really help because at the end of the day, you can have all the feedback in the world, but if your programmer sucks, then yeah, you can be told, oh, all this is broken, but if you can't fix it, then you can't fix it. So yeah, Flyhand. Yeah, John Microsoft himself tested their game. That's right. John Microsoft came all the way from Seattle or whatever city Microsoft's in. He came all the way down there, and yeah, no, it didn't work. So yeah, so there's a specific way I want to do it. There's a specific way I don't want to do it. But that's my thoughts on testing. To answer your question, RC Studios. Thanks so much for the $2, by the way. I really appreciate that. We're $2 closer to that plan happening. How long is the video going to end up being? Well, good question. I don't know. It's over an hour at the moment, but I wanted, because I guess the thing is, I've stopped caring about how long videos are, but it's what's in the video. So my problem is, I don't have a problem with the video being an hour. I do have a problem if it's a really boring, misused hour. It can't just be an hour of, it has to be, every part of that hour should be really good. So that's what editing's for. You go in, because without editing, this would be way longer. So you got to go in and edit, make it so that whatever length it ends up being, that any runtime that is there is intentional and it's really good. That's the point. But it could be an hour. It might end up being a little less. It might end up being maybe a little more. I don't really care. I just want it to be good, so that if it was an hour, it would be so good that you would watch a whole hour of it. That's what I want. But yeah, it does take a long time to edit, because the source footage itself is way more than an hour. This is probably like days in terms of total. I mean, it was filmed over like a year, but in terms of like footage, it's probably like maybe weeks or months of footage. So that I've had to just sort through. So these little green parts, by the way, I know these look simple, these little green. It's like, oh, you got this little green stripe of me explaining the armor. But this is actually a whole other pre-rendered bit that I've edited from other footage that's been cut down. This was like a 20-minute recording cut down to a minute. So that's very hardcore editing. This I did about a month ago. So I'm now finally into slicing it with the voiceover. Cosmic says, honestly, as long as that over an hour is really well produced, it'll be worth it. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I hope for. This is pretty much the devlog special as opposed to a normal episode. Well, on that topic, because I know this is probably something you guys are wondering, because I think the last few videos I've done have kind of been like specials in the sense that they've all taken very long to make and they're very broad over how long a time that they cover. So the Contractor episode and the Screen Australia one and the Development Hell one, each of those episodes was like covering between like 6 to 8 months worth of progress each episode. And that's, it was a lot easier at the start of the game when I was just doing every 2 weeks and then I would just show what was there. But I think, I don't want to promise anything, but I can feel, now that I've figured out the right lessons and I know how to avoid development hell a bit easier, having been there now, I know how to think with limits. I know what kind of limits to apply. What I am hoping to do once this devlog is all caught up and everyone knows what I've been doing, I want to try and see if I can go back to that sort of more regular schedule, because now that I know how to think about it, I think it would be easier to make more interesting progress in regular intervals like that. Whereas this sort of progress, every 2 weeks, it doesn't look that interesting from week to week. It just doesn't, because it's just hard learning. It's brute force learning, which is not always entertaining, which is why you've got to squish it all down into a special like this. But I'm hoping that, because this phase has sort of been the phase, like the Dark Ages, and this is it kind of coming out of the Dark Age, when the development was sort of at the most demoralized. But I'm hoping that once it's all caught up and I start going back to like the trench broom stuff and the UI stuff and the demo, I think, because I know better how to not brute. You know how you have to learn through failing? I think I failed at enough things now to have learnt what I needed. So there's going to be less of those. I think there's still going to be some, but I think there'll be a more manageable amount of getting things wrong that still makes for interesting progress in shorter intervals. So that's what I'm working towards in the long term, but we're going to take it an episode at a time. So this little bit here, so this is me just describing the shapes of the armor, because I got to start actually editing this now. And then this bit at the end is the rest of the voiceover. So I'll play you this rest of this part here.
Version of these pieces. I'm gonna see if these basic shapes will work.
With her previous model, I had to make some compromises with the suit. The original concept had these knee pads on them, but when I tried to model these in 3D, I just couldn't get it to fit because of all the skinning issues I had with her knees, and I couldn't get the knee pads to weight correctly to the skeleton, so I discarded them. But as a result, when putting it on a more anatomically correct model, it looks goofy. So this time around, I wanted to make sure the knee pads stayed in. I also wanted to make the suit's silhouette more form-fitting and reduce a lot of the detail. When I first designed her suit, I thought all of these little screw holes and rivets and details were really cool. But having now drawn it hundreds of times, I realized they're not really that cool, they're just annoying. So I simplified the design down, I took all these greebles out, and kept the knee pads. So this is where I then gotta go and find in B-roll in this black area, showing all the armor design changes, because there has been a lot. Like, I don't know if you guys go look at Gabby from like the first 10 devlogs and you look at her now, there's a massive difference in like everything. Every detail is super different. But at the moment, so I just want to focus on this middle part here, because I don't know if this is too long of me describing the. I just want to give this part another watch so that because I don't remember what all of this footage is for, but I want to just watch from here to the end of here just to see what I talk about.
It sits a little higher to allow for the knee pad, but it kind of tapers down. Instead of having this big bit on the side, I've rotated it around to the front. I remember a few times where bending the hips with this in the way was getting kind of complicated. This would always like clip into her hip. So I thought...
And one thing I do as well, just to make it... it's gonna sound weird, but because I kind of have listened to myself talk for long enough to be able to do this without losing the essence. But when I'm going through and editing, I like to play it at double speed so I can just get the essence of what I'm saying. So it's going to sound weird, but just bear with me.
We were bending the hips with this in the way. It was getting complicated. This would always like clip into her hip. So I thought, all right, well, let's try and maybe move that somewhere. And I pulled it down a bit and rotated it. I've also tried to make sure...
So this is the YouTube Shorts version.
it's going to like go down like that so that there's room for her hips to move. Whereas the old one, it kind of goes up half. And you can see what I mean here. Like, you would imagine what it would feel like to sit down wearing this. I don't imagine it'd be that comfortable. It should feel more...
So where there's some of these bits here I'm not sure if I want to keep of me explaining all the flaws with the armor.
Streamlined. There's a bit more room for the joints to move.
Though some of this I do like.
Poly version of these pieces. I'm going to see if these basic shapes will work. With the previous model, I had to make some compromise.
I think I have to think about that, but I do want to get some footage for this green, the voiceover with the suit. Because there's also more clips of me actually modeling it, so...
With the previous model, I had to make some compromises with the suit. The original concept had these knee pads on them, but when I tried to model these...
Hold on, let me just read. I had to make some Actually, you know what? Because I have a transcript view here, because I've also auto-transcribed all these, so I can actually just... Because I can read it faster. So I just want to read... Oh, did I not transcribe this one? Oh, maybe. No, I thought I did. This one I'm pretty sure is transcribed. 3D. Oh, maybe it isn't. Okay. Hold on. Oh, that's right. No, because I split all of these up into different audio files. So the voiceover used to be on one big file, and now I've split it into different chapters, and I haven't retranscribed them. So this is where Premiere, because Adobe is not my favorite company, but this is this is a cool thing that their software does let you do. So if I go to reveal in project, because one thing I also like to do is I just like to have the text open here so I can read and just jump to certain words. And it's easy when the footage is transcribed, but manually doing it is a pain, but it does have auto transcribe. So if I go and have the source open and go to text and go transcribe, it should auto-generate a transcription momentarily. And what it lets you do as well is this is something I also did for the daily log footage, because editing that stuff down from 20 minutes to 1 minute is really it's time consuming. So what you can do is you can transcribe it and then use the transcription to automatically cut out dead air and breathing and filler words. So it automatically trims some of it, and then you can go in and more rigorously cut out more topics, or just other ramblings and stuff. Hold on, sometimes it doesn't work all the time. Let me just if I have them both, I think I have to have the window selected and then click transcribe. Or maybe it'll take a minute. It's meant to have a little progress bar at the bottom, but it's not for some reason. Just give it a minute. I'll check chat just real quick. Cosmic says, trying to literally create 2000s D&B jungle music to pretend it's the old days where you had music in the background. Yeah. I do want to do some kind of thing with that. In the music department, I've been making little insights, but I do want to. Oh man, I can't wait to get back to doing the music stuff, because yeah, I've been doing lots of research on how professional mixers think and what they listen for, and what separates good sounding music from amateur music, and I've noticed a lot that I didn't used to notice. But we'll have to save that for another time, because I've got a lot of, that could be a whole videos or streams worth of observations, but putting them into, I still got to work out how to put them in practice. All right, that should have finished transcribing by now.
Get the knee pads.
I just don't know why it's, maybe I have to click on, oh no, there we go. Okay, now it's there. You just have to like click away. See, that's I like and hate Adobe at the same time. So now I can just read, okay, because I can read quicker than I can listen. So I'm just looking for the words, because if you click on the word, it just takes you exactly on the timeline to where it is. At least it should do that. Yeah, there we go. So if I click on these words, it takes the timeline to the word. It's pretty cool. Really cool stuff. So I'm just trying to find... So I need to find a picture of her original suit. Now, you might notice here, I've actually got some markers in the audio file where it says Gabby B-roll, Gabby Mark II projections, Gabby Mark II rig, Gabby Mark II time-lapse. So these are actually markers that I've done on the audio file that tell me what B-roll I need. So at the moment, this area is just blank. It just says armor, because that's the topic of this area. And then these little sub bits in here are where the B-roll has to go. So armor is just, I haven't decided what to put there. So I'll get to that bit later. But the Gabby Mark II projections, I do have that in my media bin somewhere. Let me just, I gotta save this audio transcription, and then I'll open, I think it would be in graphics. So this is where, I think at the start of last year, I spent like maybe a whole month reorganizing all of this. And it was so that I could do stuff like this, where I can just quickly find, because, you know, it saves time in the long term when it's well organized, and it wasn't this well organized before. So all of this footage and graphics is a big library from every devlog ever. So every devlog I've made has all been pulled into this one library of assets. And these include all the footage from her first model. So I do have an image here of the model sheet. I think I had two versions of it, actually. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was two versions where like the proportions of the suit changed between them. So I want to use the second one, because that's what I ended up going with. So I want to just pop that here. I won't animate it yet. I'm just going to put it there for the moment. The original concept had these knee pads on them, but when I tried to model these in 3D, and then modeling, now here it says Gabby Mark II rig knee deform. So I know where that is. I have to go to footage. So I'll just keep some of these bins, because these are bins, is what I call them. The footage bin, the graphics bin, the audio bin. So I'm going to open the footage bin. This is the biggest one, because it's got videos. But if you go search Feline Gabby... So the way I've kind of named it like the way they name Iron Man suits. We've got Gabby Mark 1, Gabby Mark 2, and then this is Gabby Mark 3. You might wonder, Raymond, I thought this is the second model. What, you're telling me there's a third one? Yes. And if you guys remember, oh man, this was really long ago now. This was when I might have still been a student at the time. I can't remember, but I didn't like know Blender yet, but I did have a version of this model. I don't think any of that footage is going to load quick enough. So the other thing as well, I saw one of you say that you'd have to have a huge hard drive for all this. Yes, and I was running out of space recently. So part of what I've also been doing this week is I spent like I think it was like last month, I did all this research on like actual what video editors do for storage, which is not what I was doing. So I have an actual enclosure with flash drives in it now. And it's set up and working, but there's one thing I have to do before I use it, and that's that I have to change the drive paths for all of my system settings to use the new drive. And I haven't done that yet because I thought if I did that before stream, it would break the links to all where the stream saves and the assets and everything. So I want to do that over the weekend, and then I'll be able to do this on the flash drive. But until then, this is still going to be a little slow. So yeah. So at the moment, it's just running on a hard disk drive with a spinning needle in it. I don't know if you kids know what those are these days. You kids all use your iPads just for editing now. But back in the day, we had spinning disks. So I want to find a Model 2, Mark II. And I want to look at the thumbnail viewer. So yeah, if this was running on the new drives, it would load instantly, all these thumbnails. But I want to change the drive letters carefully before I break stuff. Come on. Because there's a certain part, there's a clip I know is there. Oh, wait a minute. No, I might have actually saved this somewhere else in a timeline that I prepared already. So, I think it would be in Gabby Mark II. I did make a timeline of highlights from all my footage of Gabby's old model. I'll just check this first, because I might have there's a certain clip of me modeling her knee, and the arm is getting in the way, and that's what I want to show. Oh, this is gonna take forever to load as well. I guess it's a convenient chat break now, while this loads in. HDD moment for real. Yeah. Question is, does it add to the story? Well, yes. Well, more importantly, I think there's adding to the story, and then there's also adding clarity. Because this is a very technical video, and I want it so that people that haven't done 3D modeling know what's going on. Like, they can follow along the story. And it's easy when you can show them what you're doing, rather than just explain it. Because, I don't know, with me, I'm a visual guy. When people try to explain things verbally to me, I just don't get it. I have to see it. So I'm making this sort of for a similar, I don't know, because I know that if I'm like that, there's probably someone else that's like that. And it's YouTube, it's a visual medium, so you should, make an effort to make the visuals good. I think this was the clip this isn't the exact one I was looking for, but this is close enough. I just couldn't get it to fit because of all the skinning issues I had with her knees, and I couldn't get the knee pads to weight correctly to the skeleton. Okay, that's not exactly the right one, but I'll use that one if I can't find the other. But there is one of me bending the knee, and it actually shows exactly what I'm describing. So I've either put it in here in advance, or it's in the footage bin. So I just want to look around for it quickly. Okay, it's not in here, so it must still be in the footage bin. I'll just see if those... Okay, some of the thumbnails have loaded now. Some of them. Coesta says, in quotes, Gabriella. Yeah, I know. This is back when I was using her. I called her by her full name. I know. I think it was around 2020 where I started using the shortened name Gabby because it just sounds cooler. And it does, as a logo on merchandise, the word Gabby looks better than the full name. So it's easy to remember. Less syllables, too. Now it's all loading in. And I can scrub, if I hover my mouse over these, I can just scrub through and look for preview frames. I know that there is one in here of me doing vertex painting. Aha, I think this is it. Yes, this is exactly the right one. Now you'll notice that this is an hour. This is an hour-long time lapse from our old model, and we don't want the whole hour. I just want a few seconds of it. So I'm going to open this in the source monitor. Here's me actually doing all that work on the old armor. Pretty cool. And there's me weight painting it and getting frustrated with it and going, oh man, it's so over. This sucks. And this is the exact, because when I was recording this, I was visually remembering this exact clip, and this is the one I wanted. So I'll get rid of the other one because I don't need that. Or maybe I'll leave it in there in case. I'll just put it over here. But here, we'll take just a random part, because this is going to also get sped up. So I want to take... Oh, okay. Premiere's freezing. Give it a sec. Come on, Premiere. Cosmic says, I wonder what Project Feline's leitmotif will be. Ooh. You know, that's something I've been trying to think about in the shower. That's the only time in the day when I can think about music. I don't know. I have the best ideas in the shower. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is some kind of theme. And I think I'm narrowing in on something, but I haven't actually transcribed it yet. So it might suck. But I know the instruments I want. I know the kind of sound, the kind of key it should be in. But I gotta play around with it and see if it works. But yeah, I used to not really care about things like leitmotifs. I used to think it was just some kind of buzzword people used. But I'm starting to understand it now, the purpose. And it's... I think you can misuse leitmotifs too much, though, if you just use the same theme everywhere. Which is what I did see people do at times. But I think I'm understanding now, like, the tricks and moves you can pull off with a tool like that, and a lot of movies they do things like that with their motifs, you could say. So I've just marked an in and out on the source, and then I can drag a bit of that in, and then I gotta go in and now this isn't how I normally do it now. I have another way of speeding up footage that's a bit more consistent, but this footage is being used in those older projects, so I don't want to modify the source file to be sped up. I just want to modify it here. So I usually do about 1600% for these clips. I do it a bit slower on my newer ones because I work a bit faster, but back here when I was like doing a bit of modeling and then pausing to think for a minute and then doing a bit more and then pausing, I tend to speed it up a bit more just because it's just to show to get on with what's there. So I'm going to shrink that down to like where these markers are, and I'm going to turn off the audio. And then it looks like the next bit is blank. I haven't specified anything.
With her knee.
And then this next bit is suit concept, and I know where that is too. It'd be up here somewhere. Oh no, that's for the new one. Okay, that's new Gabby's. That I do have a time lapse of just me doing the new suit, which is filmed much better than these other ones. So I can close this now. And I think I might have saved. Okay, I know I didn't save it there, but I do know where it is. Gabby Mark III time lapse. I do have a special time lapse folder just for the new model. And there should be one. Okay, no, that's the blended time lapse. I need to put in the suit time lapse there too. Unless, oh no, it should be in here. I know it's here. Oh wait, where did that folder just go? Come on, Gabby Mark III. So, because what I did for the hold on, just give it a sec. Hard drive moment. Okay, hold on, my chat window's all minimized. There you guys are. Gabriella for when she becomes an eldritch god at the end of the game. Yeah. She like becomes her final form and gets her full name back. Oh, here we go. So here's the time lapse of her armor. So I don't want the whole thing because it goes for 7 minutes. But these time lapses are a lot better because I recorded this with Clip Studio Paint, which actually has a time-lapse plugin instead of just using OBS. So this time-lapse is way
But as a result,
visually, it's just visually much better. So, but it is a bit lower res though. I don't know why it's so small. It might have been the canvas size. That could have been why. So if I go to effects, I should be able to click on that. I just want to scale it up 150% to be the screen size. And then I think because this was me tracing over the old suit to know how it looked. And then there's me drawing a new variant over here. So I'll just skip ahead to that part where I'm drawing the new suit. So I have the time lapse here of... oh, that's a very boring part of it there. It's me just opening Discord and then closing it. No, hold on. Let's skip ahead here a bit. So I'm just using this handle to move the in and out of the clip over so that when I play it in the monitor here on the other side, it skips it to a different part of the video. So there's me weighting the suit. And then it goes to the time lapse of the new suit. Well, hold on, it jolts a bit there. Okay, it's just a bit... I just got to shift it a little bit over because it's a bit jarring when you switch to a clip and then the clip changes too suddenly. So now if I watch it back, it then goes to the time lapse of me drawing the new suit. I might speed this up a little too. It's a bit slow. We'll do 400%. That's better. Actually, I might go even further ahead to when I'm doing the third concept here, like that. This will be the most satisfying to watch. So then it goes from there, and then it goes here. I'll turn the audio back on so you guys can hear the voiceover.
Pads to weight correctly to the skeleton, so I discarded them. But as a result, when putting it on a more anatomically correct model, it looks goofy. So this time around, I wanted to make sure the knee pad stayed in. I also wanted to make the suit's silhouette more form-fitting and reduce a lot of the detail. When I first designed her suit, I thought all of these little screw holes and
then a bit around here, I want to have close-ups of her old renders showing those details, which I think I've got in here too, actually. It won't be in time-lapse though. It would be in... There's a few different places I can look. I think I've got turntables of her old model where I'm showing her model being turned around, and you can see the details on this. So I'll look for those. I know that they're these ones I've got. There's one of her model being turned around that I used for the shading video. It's in... Oh, here we go. Now, there's two different versions of these. There's ones with the right shadows and ones with... Okay, I think it's this one. Yes. So I'll take that, put it in. Excuse me. And this is a very short clip.
Holes and rivets and details were really cool, but having now drawn it hundreds of times, I realized they're not really that cool. They're just...
So I want to do a close-up. So I want to get of the suit, because it's showing the full body, but you don't need the full body. You just need to look real close at the suit. So if I go to effects, because I want to animate this a bit later. But for the moment, I just want to basically assemble it just with the cropping at the moment. Later on, I'll go and add keyframes to polish it up. But this should be zoomed about here-ish. Oh, wait. It has to be a certain... Yeah. I have to... Because the numbers have to be this certain arrangement for the zooming to work properly, I found. So I'll put it about here.
Drawn it hundreds of times. I realize they're not...
Oh, they are a bit hard to
really
see.
That cool.
I'll zoom it out just a little. It's about 800. And then I want to also get I might have a render of her, like hand drawn, in here somewhere. from like earlier concepts or something. So that would be in the graphics. Feline, Gabby Mark II. Let's open that up. Does this have the... Oh, it kind of... Not really. No, I think I... Funny enough, isn't that interesting? So I'm there complaining about how over-detailed the suit is. And then in the actual, like, concept art, I actually just haven't bothered drawing them. That should have been a signal. That should have been a warning sign to me to not model them, but I didn't listen. I didn't listen to the voices in my head at the time. So I went, no, I gotta add more detail. It'll look better. No. No way. Oh yeah, I can get the actual concept. This will probably... Yeah, this will definitely have it. So I'll copy that transform gizmo. And we'll zoom it and crop it, bop it, twist it, and show... Because you guys... I don't know if you guys even noticed those were there. But her entire suit is like comprised of these... Like the old one, not the new one, but the old one, it had even more detail that I didn't even bother modeling, like these little rivet holes on the side and it's just... What are you doing, Raymond? What are you thinking? That's going to be so much work for you in the future to have all that, but I didn't know at the time. I was very naive about that. Mongo says, always listen to the voices. That's true. You got to listen to the voices, okay? They always tell you the answer. You know what? Because you guys always keep making fun of me listening to the voice in my head, but I'm not crazy, okay? Because I was looking this up. I searched up having voices in my head, and it's not just me, okay? This is a normal thing. There was like... It's called an internal monologue, I'll have you know. And most of the population has it, but there is a large growing amount of the population that doesn't. Isn't that interesting? That's frightening to me. So maybe that's why you guys think it's so funny. Maybe you are the guys without the inner monologue that tells you what to do. Maybe you're the crazy one. So I'm not crazy. And it's like what's the meme where it's like you can't imagine an apple in your head? There's like something along those lines I was reading about where it's like there's a growing population of people that don't think in words, that don't have an internal monologue and can't picture an apple rotating in their mind. So who's the crazy one? Is it the guy that can't imagine or think, or the guy that has voices telling him what to do? Which one's more crazy? You tell me. And Kiyosh says an internal monologue has one, not multiple. Well, depends on how sophisticated your internal monologue is, my friend. See, my internal monologue is not one... So the way it works is, it isn't just some guy talking. It's like, you know, like a Roman Colosseum or like a council, and it's just a constant debate. That's sort of how it is. And I was looking at the comments for this thing. It was like, it might have been a video about internal monologues I was watching. And the top comments, the guy was saying, the people have just one voice? I have a whole courtroom. And that's what I have as well. And it's like, I'm not crazy. Okay? It's just, I think if you have a lot to think about, you have to have more than one voice to sort it all out. So your brain just starts hiring more voice members to put in there. It casts other people in the role, and then you've got a whole Elder Jedi Council. That's kind of think about it like that for you pop culture fans. If you guys haven't seen how Rome Society worked, just go look at Star Wars and look at the Jedi Council. That's what my internal monologue is like. It's like a big council of about not as big as the Jedi Council, but about like 3 or 4 people there, and they're all deciding like, okay, this is what we got to do. This is how it's going to be. Gabby's on the council, of course. She's granted the rank of master. She doesn't talk a lot, but when she does, it's usually very insightful. So, you know, there's probably a Jedi that's like that as well in the movies, where it's like, who's the guy with the big forehead? That's kind of like who Gabby's like, you know, where he doesn't say much, but when he does say stuff, everyone listens and goes, yes, indeed. What about the droid attack on the Wookiees? Yes, we must think about that. That's sort of how it is. Kia says, then it's not a monologue? Okay, fine then. It's not a monologue. Well, it's a monologue if one of them at a time are talking, all right? Sierra says it's Gabby, Calder, and Felix. I mean, maybe it is. That would be pretty cool, actually. I would totally listen to Calder, absolutely, if he was the one telling me stuff. Maybe it is. I don't know. I gotta check.
I realize they're not really that cool. They're just annoying. So I simplified the design down.
All right, so I don't know. I think I'll leave those clips there for the moment. And there's this clip of me modeling the suit that I do want to use because this is also very satisfying to watch.
Details were really cool, but having now drawn it hundreds of times, I realize they're not
I think I want to put this here.
really that cool. They're just annoying.
Hold on.
Dude, I thought all of these little screw holes and
I think I want to move the concept here.
reduce a lot of the detail. When I first designed her suit,
Oh yeah, I'll put the concept here.
I thought all of these little screw holes and bits and details were...
And how many seconds is that? I'll make that exactly 5 seconds. I don't want it on screen too. Usually if you have something on screen for more than 5 seconds, it gets stale. Like you can tell it's been on the screen too long. So I'll do these 5 seconds each, and then I'll put this at the end.
Details were really cool. But having now drawn it hundreds of times, I realize they're not really that cool. They're just annoying. So I simplified the design down. I took all these greebles out and kept the knee pads.
All right, that sounds pretty good. Now that's one part. that's the intro. There's more though. I think that's the voiceover part there. But there's a whole other set of clips of me working on the armor. I just got to check something though, because that might belong on its own timeline. So let me just save everything. And now in devlog Act 6. This should be Act 7. Which one's this? Oh, this is
the textures on these models.
Okay, that's texturing. Okay, so I got to stay on this one. But there's a bunch of footage in the undecided bin. Actually, let me find this. Where's this? Reveal in project. All right, I'm going to move this out of the undecided to the use folder, just so I know which of these logs have been used. Now there should be one. These are ones I've edited in advance of me showing the modeling. Just got to find the right one. But wait, there's more. Yeah, there's always more. There's always more. Sierra says, doesn't so much as present itself as a voice in my head, but presents itself as pictures. I see. Yeah, I've got a bit of both. I do have both of that. But yeah, pictures also. Very good. I think for me, they kind of come as pictures first, and then it's like the pictures are on a projector, and then the council is watching the pictures, and then they all debate about what the picture means, and decide what to do, and then I go and do it. That's sort of that's the way my thought process works. I have a big projector with a full stereo system set up in my brain. Okay, not for real, because that would be way too expensive. But a massive IMAX cinema in the Jedi Council, and they're all watching it, and then they all sit around and go, what did that mean? What does that mean? And it takes them a while to figure it out, but then they figure it out, and then it turned into a plan. Now, I think this is where I'm talking about the boots, which I had to redo a few times, but I think there's an earlier clip. I just got to find the earliest clip where I'm talking about armor design. It's like a 7.1 surround system, says Sierra. Yeah, exactly. Now, there's this clip here where I talk about, I'm talking about textures and concept art for the armor. I don't know why I've got both of those here. What am I saying in this clip? I get some video editing stuff, so I think I just... Okay, I think that's just repeating stuff from the other clip. So I think it's this is the one I want. So I got to drag that into the timeline. And now we've got another. So the first clip is the concept.
Well, it kind of goes up half, and yeah,
where I'm showing off the concept, and then there's this clip which we'll watch next.
I spent the stream the week before.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong one. No, it's the one afterwards, I think. No, that's not right either. I could have sworn it was... Okay, no, it is this one. All right. that cool, they're just annoying. So I simplified the design down, I took all these greebles out, and kept the knee pads. So I'll move that a bit closer.
To clean up this middle bit a little, I would like for there to be room with the UVs that I can make a sharp outline around these. I also made a start on...
Oh no, wait a minute. I could have sworn there was another clip from before this day that's meant to come first. I remember filming it. Oh yes, here it is. Okay, no, I got the wrong one. It's just because there's so many in this list. Like I was saying at the start, when you've got more than 7 items in a list, or more than 6 items, you can't just see which one is the... You got to like count them. That's what it'd be really cool if this... I don't know if there's a way to make like a numbers column on the side. That would be so good. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but I gotta figure out.
I've made some headway on getting...
Oh, this is the right one that's supposed to play. And then, after that, it's meant to be me doing the grill of this bit. So... We'll play that. And kept the knee pads.
I've made some headway on getting the armor for the leg, just the basic shape, just to see if it will actually work. So based on this concept, which I've added some color to, I have made just this basic shape, and I've made sure to test it in this pose so that I could see the knee bending. And if we look into this little bit, this is what I was wanting to know. It seems to fit pretty good. Like, I could bend Gabby's leg, and the armor doesn't clip into itself. I think even with the Arc System Works models, if you bend everything enough, it will start clipping. AAA games get away with it, so I'm not too worried. It's not only more out of the way and there's going to be less rigging problems, but it also is like more practical and functional as armor. It was good that I could check this first before going in full detail. Managed to clean up this middle.
And then there's this whole part that comes afterwards about the actual detail, but I think the voiceover, there's meant to be more narration, but I don't think I recorded more. So I just got to check where the narration ends. When putting it on a more anatomically correct model... Oh, wait. I think I found it. Knees. And I couldn't get the knee pads to weight correctly to the skeleton, so I discarded them. But as a result, when putting it on a more anatomically correct model, it looks goofy. So this time around, I wanted to make sure the knee pads stayed in. I also wanted to make this silhouette more form-fitting and reduce a lot of the detail. When I first designed those two, I thought all of these little screw holes and... Okay, so here is meant to be a break. This part of the narration will come in after this next clip. So it kind of intercuts back and forth between on the day and then retrospect, foresight. This is what I was doing, voiceover from the future. So fitting and reduce a lot of the detail.
I've made some headway on getting...
Okay, that actually goes pretty well. So it goes from the time-lapse of me designing it to then modeling it.
I've made some headway on getting the armor for the leg, just the basic shape, just to see if it will actually work. So based on this concept, which...
And then, then there's me referencing the concept I just showed, so that works pretty well.
I have made just this basic shape, and I've made sure to test it in this pose so that I...
And then after I get that, it then goes back to the narration.
Before going in full detail.
When I first designed her... Oh yeah, I'm talking about detail there. So yeah, that segues pretty well. So I'll just back it up a little, and then we'll play it from here.
More practical and functional as armor. It was good that I could check this first before going in full detail.
When I first designed her suit... Oh, that's a bit of an awkward cut there. It's very jarring. I just got to space it out a little. So I'll have to extend that.
When I first designed... Detail.
I just got to take on the source. I just got to lengthen it a little bit there. There we go. Because if it cuts off too abruptly, you notice that it's been edited, and it's just, it's I don't know. I find it distracting. So I'm going to extend that out a little. And then...
When I first designed...
That's better. And I'll extend this out a bit as well to make a bit of a more seamless cut. So that way, because this is just an editing trick that I found is quite good, where when you have like a cut, you want to extend the video out like that, and then have the audio. I think it's called a J cut. That's the name of it, where the audio starts first. And then, like this.
Detail. When I first...
So that it doesn't, accept... Oh, wait, no. because I have these on separate tracks, I got to take all of this and extend it. I don't want it cutting to black. And then like this, so
when I first designed,
it's got to go just a little longer though. It's a little, I'd say, another 10 milliseconds. There we go. So just so that it flows better, so that you don't notice that it's been edited as much.
when I first designed,
You see, okay, you see that? I know it's very small, but this is something I do in a lot of the cuts where you're watching
in
it.
full detail.
Oh, hold on. I'll full screen it. So you're there watching it, because when you intercut between narration and live stuff, it should be kind of obvious that, okay, now it's a narration, but it shouldn't be like a hard cut, because it's everything's changing at once. You want the audio to change first and then the video to change, because it's easier to watch.
Practical and functional as armor. It was good that I could check this first before
So if you watch
going
this,
in full detail. When I first designed her suit,
you see how it's a bit subtle, but if it did an immediate cut, it would kind of flashbang you a little bit. So I just, to make it pleasant for the viewer. And then when you cut back into the narration, it'll be like this.
Rivets and details were really cool, but having simplified the design down, I took all these greebles out and kept the knee pads. Managed to clean up.
You see, it's a bit more noticeable here, but you see how like I start talking before the clip changes, and then it goes to what I'm showing, like this.
And kept the knee pads. Managed to clean up this middle bit a little.
So it's a bit nicer, but if you did it like this, you'll see the difference.
So I simplified the design down, I took all these greebles out and kept the knee pads. Managed to clean up.
See how it's just kind of abrupt? So I got to do the J cut. That's what it's called, the J cut. I think there is a reason. I think it's just because of the way the clip looks. It's sort of like a J shape when you look at the cut. So I'll give that a save. Keo says, I visualize the letters and words as I hear them, probably because I used to read a lot. I see. So much of that people were astonished I didn't get first in the... Hold on. I obviously didn't read a lot because I'm screwing up your message so bad here. I used to read a lot. I like so much that people were astonished I didn't get first in the reading points ranking. Wait, there's reading points? What are you... Your school had reading points? Man, I wish my school did that. Despite reading more than double what second place did, I wasn't reading the stuff my grade level. Oh, that's why. Okay, freaking cheating the system here. But, I really should have read more, personally. I probably would have lost all those competitions. But I'm making up for it now by having to read all my footage, transcribed and everything. So I'm getting my reading level. I'm getting my literacy up with this one. All right. So... I think in terms of B-roll, in terms of the basics for that, I just got to see if, because there is more to the armor as well that comes afterwards. So I got to start looking for. So there's the concept. I think I've used this one. So I'll move that to use. I've used this one. And then there's a lot more. So I got to then decide which one of these I want to use. So I'll just put them in on the timeline, because this is where we got to start deciding stuff, because there's a lot of daily logs from the armor and not all of them are interesting. Some of them are just boring as hell, because that's how game dev... I don't know, everyone has this thing that, oh, game dev's fun. No, it's not. It's just work, okay? It's like a job, except you get paid way less. That's basically it. Now, that is normal editing. So I think there might only be two left about the armor. Normal editing, and then there's this, which is, I think, UVs. So I think it's just these two left. So I'll give these a watch to decide if I want to cut one of these out.
Very day. It's got to be practical.
All right, we'll start from back here. down, I took all these greebles out and kept the knee pads.
Managed to clean up this middle bit a little. I would like for there to be room with the UVs that I can make a sharp outline around these. I also made a start on the boots. I'm not particularly excited about designing shoes, but I guess that's what I found myself doing on this very day. It's got to be practical, and you got to be able to bend the foot and move it and have it still look good, and it's actually pretty alright. I can also bend the foot, and the joints there will work as well. I've managed to weld the
So this is the next
glowy
day.
bits into the boot mesh, and I did a little bit of UVs, and I've tried to do it smart so that they all overlap. If I do the outline on one half of one of these, it'll do it for all of them. Been working on the armor design, the chamfers, the...
Wait a minute. Oh, let me just check this. That was a really awkward cut.
do it for all of them. Been working on the...
I think I want to... Yeah. I think I want to... I think that opening part is kind of... It doesn't feel like it should go there. It was recorded on the same day. I think what I might have done is I did it, and then I like stopped and thought I'd reshot it without changing the recording. So I think, because then this sounds like the beginning. This doesn't sound like the beginning over here. So I'll make that the beginning, because I think all I'm talking about is UVs, which I talk about later anyway. So I could probably get away with not having that.
The thickness, I don't know. Line on one half of one of these, it'll do it for all of them. Been work.
Okay, yeah, that's the sort of stuff I'm cutting out. It's just boring. Like, no one cares, you know? So, yeah. So that's the kind of stuff you got to cut out when you edit, is... Like, it communicates nothing, really. It's just tedium. And it's not... I don't know. I can get it out.
Been working on...
This maybe would be more interesting.
The armor design, the chamfers, the thickness. I don't know, there was just something off about it. And when I took the armor pieces away, I noticed that I had modeled Gabby's feet, but I hadn't really thought about their proportions that much. Her feet are very wide. Her heels are very narrow. It's arching way too late. It should be arching
This was so annoying.
Earlier. So I was trying to move everything around into what felt like the right spot, and that made it a lot easier to build the shoe around. I mean, I know it sounds kind of weird. It's like I'm trying to design shoes, but I guess it's kind of what you're doing. Part of that kind of helps when you can put your mind into the character and go, well, what would it feel like to wear these? It's finally starting to...
All right. I don't know if I need to mention that, because like I don't know. I had to do a lot of reading of anatomy books when I was doing this to like know where the right bone placement would be and everything. But I kind of go through some of those topics previously in this same episode where I talk about in bone placement. There's a whole section before this on bone placement, and I talk about those principles, and this is kind of a repeat of that, just on a weirdly specific part of the model. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think we need to keep this part. So I'll set this aside, and I'll just put this part just to see how these two flow together. Because it's mainly just me finicking around with the shoe proportions and stuff.
The foot and the joints there will work as well. It's finally starting to take shape. Did some work mainly on the thigh bit. I have to get this weird shape of the vents, and it has this kind of asymmetrical, but it is still symmetrical, but it's like angular. These are the same vents as on the boots, and the key was to make sure that they're evenly spaced out. I was able to do that by making these into instances.
Oh, this is
cool. If I move one of these up and down, the rest will also move, and that's really important because that area around the edges, we need to have line work that is the same thickness for all of them. So if we look at the old textures, for instance, you can see they're a bit irregular shapes, and I've tried to get it so that there's like, you know, line work, and it's very, very jagged. And I've started work on the UVs for the rest of everything else. It all comes down to the texturing workflows. I'm just using a grid to test it out at the moment. Every one of these little pixels is like where I can put a line. It has to be UV, XY align.
So this I'll keep, because this is actually interesting to me. And I know it's like, oh, Ray, wouldn't all of this be interesting to you? No. I know that I did all this, but some of this is really not interesting. So I'll get rid of the other one. This one I do want to keep, because it shows you the kind of way you have to think about the UVs. Because this, again, I remember when I was doing this, everyone was like, what the hell are you doing? This is not how to UV stuff. But if you're doing it in this style, this is kind of how you have to do it, with the sharp vectorized lines. So I do explain that later in the video, I think. But this is a great way of showing actually what you have to do in terms of like before you've even got the textures, how you have to actually build the model around these straight line textures. And this was kind of cool. I remember feeling really satisfied when I got this working. There's just a weird little bit at the beginning, though, I'm not sure about.
The only starting to take shape did some work.
I think, yeah, there's this little sentence at the start that's not really serving a purpose here.
To take shape did.
Yeah, I can get rid of that. It's not really doing anything. And now when I put that over here, because that's just a inserted version of that timeline.
Will work as well. Did some work.
And then, yeah, you can see that bit I've cut out is now showing at the end here. So I just, boop, there we go. And I think in terms of the armor stuff, that is all the footage I had, besides time-lapse. I think for the fill bits, I might get the time-lapse in here and start using it. I did use it somewhere else, so I just got to try and find where I put it. Fonko says, maybe do the 60s Batman transitions with the spinning frames? No. No. We're not in the 60s anymore, Mungo. I'm sorry. Sierra says it has fun parts, but there's a large chunk of it that really isn't fun. Weight painting, programming tools. Dude, weight painting was the first thing. Well, here's the thing. I actually started to enjoy weight painting during this modeling process. For her old model, I hated it. But part of why I'm so excited about this video is that the stuff I use, some of this, not all of it, but some of the stuff I used to find excruciating became fun. And I think when something is excruciating, at times, it could be a symptom that you're going with the wrong approach. Not all the time. I think there are some things that are just boring, but there are times when if you really master something, it becomes fun because you've figured out the path of least resistance. Because it's the resistance that makes it boring. But when you can glide like butter through weight painting, which I did in this case, but to do that, I had to know anatomy better, and I had to know bone placement, so that the weight painting would be flawless. But so you have to do some other boring thing, and then that makes that other thing less boring. It's basically anything fun costs boring stuff. That's sort of the economy of effort, you could say. Anything that's fun costs like 10 boring things. It's pretty much how it is. Costa says, fun? No. Fulfilling? Maybe. I would say fulfilling, yes, if it's the right project. Now, time-lapse. I gotta find this time-lapse. Because now I've still got these empty parts, and I want those to have Gabby's modeling. I have a big time-lapse of the entire model that I want to use for these filler bits. I just gotta find where I put it, because I have it in the project file, but I also made a special timeline of it somewhere in the project. I just can't remember where I had put it. But I know it was in one of these scenes. If it's gonna, the hard HDD moment, if it's gonna load it in. So this is, I didn't have to do this normally, but the reason I'm going through all these, so all of these timelines are different chapters, because I'm instead of just having it in one big timeline, I'm doing it per chapter for this video because it's so big. And you'll notice that there's like 7 chapters, and they range from a few minutes to 40 minutes. They're quite big. So here, yeah, you can see here I've got time lapse of modeling. So I want to take. There's me doing the sculpting, and then there's me showing box modeling. So I want to take this and intercut it with this. Yeah, so I'm going to take these two, and then I'm going to skip ahead in them to the suit part, which is in the same time lapse, I'm pretty sure. So I can close those. I'll paste those. So I'll take these, and if I skip ahead in the source monitor, it should show me Oh, there's the rigging and UVing. There's modeling. There we go, modeling the suit. So I just got to zoom in, enhance that image. Oh man, it's all coming back to me now. All the memories. Oh, yeah, this was hard. But it was so worth it though. It was so hard and it took so long, but it was so worth it. Oh, where's the suit? Okay, here we go. There's the texturing. I think I did the textures and then I did the suit. Yeah. And then I'll take this because I have multiple cameras. I did this plugin for Blender that's supposed to let you do here we go. So I had like multiple cameras set up inside the Blender scene as I was working, and they would move. There was one camera just on the desktop. There was one moving around Gabby. There was one just filming her from the front, all while I was working on it. And it would take like a screenshot every minute of what I was doing and just record it in a sequence. And then I turned it into a video. And that's how I did the time lapse for this. So just gotta see where it starts, where I actually start about here. So I start modeling the suit. So then what I'm gonna do is all the blank areas that just have no footage on them, I'm just gonna put the time lapse there. That's what I'll do. Like this. After the hair, I moved on to her suit. Now my original plan was to get the suit from her previous model and I'll skip. This is more rigging stuff. I gotta skip ahead a little bit. Yeah, about there. After the hair, I moved on to her suit. Now, my original plan was to get the suit from her previous model and just resize it a bit and put it on a new model. And then maybe I'll intercut it just so that it doesn't go for too long. How many seconds? Okay, that's 5. We'll do 5-second cuts. So every 5 seconds it changes to a different camera angle. Oh, if I could... 5 seconds, come on. 1 millisecond. There we go. So I think here... Because, yeah, then there's bits where I start going real close up, and you can't see it on the zoomed out version as well. So if I go here... Yeah, so I'll skip ahead. Yeah, I'm going to do about here. After the hair, I moved on to her suit. Now, my original plan was to get the suit from her previous model and just resize it a bit and put it on a new model. But when I tried doing it, I found... And then we'll cut back to the 360 view for 5 seconds. And then we'll cut back. I think that should be enough to fill in that space. There we go. And then I'll trim that off, put that in. Let's give that a watch of just the beginning narration. After the hair, I moved on to her suit. Now, my original plan was to get the suit from her previous model and just resize it a bit and put it on a new model. But when I tried doing it, I found that it didn't fit. Like, it just didn't fit her anymore. It looked goofy. And I thought, oh no, is she going to need a new suit? And she was going to need a new suit. So I've got a sketch here. All right. For some reason, this then skips ahead to texturing. So I just want to move that around just to focus on so about here. Goofy. Because that's the cool thing as well, is that if you cut between like this and you get a bit of the time lapse that's a bit boring or unrelated, you can just, when you change camera angles, you can just skip ahead in the time lapse. And I thought, oh no, is she going to need a new suit? Yeah, you can see me here. She was going to need a new suit. So I've got a sketch here of the current design. There we go. Now, when I'm looking at it like this, because this time lapse shows the modeling, not the concept. So I'm not sure if I should maybe swap this and this around or just leave it, but we'll see. I just got to look at what's supposed to go here. The suit. Their previous model, I had to make some compromises with the suit. The original concept had these knee pads on them. Oh, okay. I know what has to go here. I have to put this here. Yep. This model, I had to make some compromises with the suit. The original. Yeah. Concept had these knee pads on them, but when I tried... Yeah, that's better. I just couldn't get it to... And then I'll make this a bit longer. Make it 4.5 seconds each. There we go. And then there we go. So this is going to have some keyframing on it to sort of zoom in.
Had these knee
but
pads
for the
on,
moment,
but when
this
I
is sort of
tried to
roughly
model
how
these
it'll
in
look.
3D, I just couldn't get it to fit because of all the skinning issues I had with her knees. And
Yeah. All right. I reckon that's, in terms of like the blocking, I'm liking it. Sierra says that's really cool. Thank you. Do you find Hungry Duckling? Good to see you again. Do you find that you work faster while streaming or while not streaming? I'd say while I'm not streaming. Yeah, I work better. I work best when I'm like completely left alone. But you know, if I was all alone all the time, you know, you guys wouldn't know what I've been up to. So I've tried to make a habit. I've been trying to make a habit of streaming regularly, so I don't go too crazy. Okay, I need someone to reel me back sometimes. But yeah. But I just like, I don't know, I like just once a week I like to sort of show what's been going on. But I'm much more efficient when I don't have to focus on being entertaining and working at the same time. But yeah, that's why I think I wanted to kind of make the streams more like showing off like stand-up stuff, like weekly stand-up. Here's what I did. But I do want to actually like get a few things through, like especially with this video. I just want to, any time I have, I just want to spend working on it. Oh, this is a good question. Okay, we'll take a quick chat break to answer this question, and I'll get, because I do have to just give my eyes and ears just a bit of a rest, and then watch this again in a few minutes to see if it still holds up. But while I let my browser in my brain refresh for a minute, Coesta asks, "Can you pinpoint the exact moment you started listening to the voices?" I think that's probably another reason, by the way, why I work faster alone, because I can hear the voices better. When I'm streaming, the voices don't talk. You guys become the voices in the chat message here. But I think I can pinpoint the exact moment, and it would have been when I started this model. That was the exact moment. So I know that sounds pretty crazy, right? It's like, because I know I make it sound all cryptic, but what it really is, it's just intuition. That's what it is. It's not schizophrenia. It's just intuition. And you might think that's a long time to go not listening to your intuition, because that wasn't until like spending a few years on the game first. But I don't know. I think when you know me personally, and you know what I did before Project Feline, I think, I don't know, it makes more sense, because like, I think I told you guys last week, I was telling you some old stories from before Project Feline about how I was institutionalized. I went to the game dev school to learn all this stuff. And I've been thinking about that more lately, because I noticed that it still bothered me a lot, and I'm trying to think about why I still get pissed off thinking about that point in time. And I think if I had to guess, it was because before that point, when I was in school, because I used to listen to them all the time. When I was in like primary school, when I was 12 up until 16, I was like going full intuition, and I was coming up with the best ideas. I was making really good progress on everything. I was like drawing every day. I was doing a bit of game dev every day. Granted, you know, life was a lot easier when you're in high school and you have a lot of free time. But I was really happy. And then when I went to study this properly for a couple of years, that went away. Like that skill, like that ability to just create stuff disappeared, because, you know, everyone said, no, that's not the right way. You can't do it this way. No, you can't come up with your own ideas. No, you can't. Making your own game? Are you crazy? Just go get a job. Like, that's sort of the culture of, but, you know, in Australia as well, you got to remember, this is not America. In America, I think it's totally fine. But in Australia, where there are no jobs for this sort of thing, it's not a good thing to tell people. So I always tell people in my country to just go indie. If you want to like get a day job and do indie on the side, that's what I tell them. But this whole institute was set up to like put you in the gambling industry pretty much, because that's the only thing you've got. It's you got to design the UI for the pokies. That's what we were being trained for. And when you're in an environment like that, surrounded by people like that, and if you're vulnerable, so if you're young and you're around those people, it does damage. Okay, you take psychic damage. And it was difficult, and it took me many years because the voices went away. Like I couldn't intuit anything. I couldn't decide anything for my own gut reasons. I was always questioning my instincts all the time, and I didn't trust myself. I was being taught to not trust myself, and I think that's what really made me so angry about that period. So that was like 4 years of being there, and then around after 4 years is when I started doing Feline like just as a hobby. And I'm trying to make it not a hobby now. I'm trying to do it actually seriously, but it's really difficult. But I've noticed that it's gotten better, and I can actually tolerate putting up with more, suffering when I just listen to my intuitive gut instincts instead of trying to like rationalize everything or whatever. So, and it started when I started this model, when I decided that I know Gabby's model looks bad. Everyone I was getting mixed feedback. Some people said it looked jank, but some people were also saying, oh, I mean, it looks good enough and no one will care. And I just had such a reaction when people told me that, like, because I knew they were wrong and I couldn't explain why, but I knew that the people telling me it was bad were the ones that were correct. And I didn't want to, because it is convenient. It's like, oh, I just listen to the people that tell you it's good and you'll feel better. But no, I felt wrong. I'm like, no, I know that this is bad and it could be better. And the people telling me this is jank are right. And I couldn't handle the cognitive dissonance of knowing that it was bad and deciding to, oh, no one's going to care anyway. Like that attitude, I couldn't do it. I'm like, no, this is where I decided, you know what? I'm going to listen to the gut instinct that's telling me that this is bad, and I'm going to do something. And I'm going to, I didn't expect it would be easy, but I think it's easier to live with yourself when you do things like that, even though it's more pain. Like it's way easier to just rush and not care, but I don't know. I think in the long term it isn't. It's like manual labor wise easier, but spiritually not easier because you hate yourself. So that was the precise moment to answer your question, Coester, when I decided that I had to do the game like this, where I wasn't just compromising everything and going, oh, this is good enough. Because no, good enough sucks. Okay, we all know good enough sucks. And I don't know, man. Because I want to play games. I want to play something that was made this way, where the guy doing it had everything exactly the way he wanted. And I'm thinking, well, because I don't play anything else. Anything that doesn't do that doesn't meet the bar for me, and I don't play it. And it's like, could I really confidently sell a game that I wouldn't play? Could I really live with myself trying to promote? Because you got to do a lot of promotion for a game. You got to be out there all the time, like I'm doing on stream here, right? Like you got to be everywhere promoting the thing, getting people thinking and talking about it. And it's like, could I really do that if I didn't believe it was done right? Could I really do that? And I don't think I could. So that's why I went this way and started listening to the voice. But so yeah, very very long answer, but I think I don't know, that's when I realized I had to. It wasn't that I just chose to. I think I had to for that outcome I wanted. Hungry Duckling says, really loving the new model. Thank you so much. Well, that's kind of the outcome I want. I want people saying that about the whole game. It's like, and that's kind of what it's all about. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot, especially with the people I was studying with. They are very financialist mindset, where it's all a business move. It's all, I need to make this a business, and there's a place for that. I think that it's naive to not think about that. I think you do have to think about that, but I think it's easier to turn something into a business or a game that makes money or whatever. I think it's easier to do that if there is something underneath the business that is worth something emotionally to other people, that isn't just there to enrich yourself kind of thing. So the way I'm thinking about it is like I want to be rewarded for making people fall in love with this. You know what I mean? Like when you say you love the new model, I want you saying that about the whole game, where it comes out and you're like, oh, I love this game. This is so good. And that's what I want to be rewarded for. That's the standard I want. I don't want to just be rewarded for publishing something, because a lot of people I was around were fine with that. They were like, oh yeah, as long as I put out something. And it's like, no. For me, that's not good enough. It has to be that I actually did something someone loved, not just, oh, it's on the Steam store and anyone can do that. I think it's a lot harder to make someone I haven't even met. I haven't met you guys, all right? Like we are technically strangers. And I don't think people quite get how difficult and how much work it is for a stranger to make something for a stranger that they love, that they are not indifferent about, that they care about. Because you know how in a friend group, you'll care about, if your friend makes something, you will care about it because it's your friend. But if it's someone you don't know, there's a higher bar. And if you love something that was made by someone you don't know, I think that's like the apex of creative achievement. I think you can't get past that point of someone loved that thing and they don't even know you. They have no reason, they have no bias to like it more because they know you or anything. It's just that they actually liked it. And I don't know. I think that's something I've just been thinking about lately a lot of what that really means, and to make something that is worth that. So what I'm hoping is, if that's how you feel about just the model, and if I apply that attitude I had with this model to everything, I have a feeling that will work. But I also have a feeling it's going to be really hard. But I know that it will work if I just hold out long enough to do that kind of thinking to everything I touch, where it's the levels, the interface, the game mechanics, the story. If it's all done, and what is it all about? It's intention. If it's all done intentionally, and anything on screen is not out of place, and it's done exactly the way it's intended to look, I think that's the difference between like a game that you, at a first glance, you know that you like, versus a lot of the AAA stuff you see. You know the stuff people complain about with the smeary anti-aliasing and all those little graphical glitches everyone's saying? You've seen the videos. Everyone's talking about everyone's complaining about the UE5 slop or whatever. The actual problem isn't the performance or technology, I don't think. It's the fact that those artifacts are unintentional. I think that's the actual problem. It's not that it's performant or it's small frame rate or it's whatever. It's the fact that the stuff that's on screen is unintentional. I think that's the artistic problem. I think there are technical problems, but the artistic problem is that. And I think something with too many artistic problems is not something that it doesn't earn that level of love from its audience. That's what I think. Anyway, the quality of Gabby's model makes me hopeful the rest of the game will have the same quality. Thanks, Hungry. Well, that's the thing is, I hope as well, but I have to put in the work. So it means it'll take a while, right? Like it takes time to learn how to do that. Not just to do it. Well, the idea is once you learn how to do it, it doesn't take that long when you do it. But to learn how to do it, like for me most of the time making this model was not making the model. It was learning how not to do it and then learning how to do it. And that's why experts can do this pretty quickly. But if you're nobody, if you're not a connected Los Angeles game developer, if you're just some random dude in the outback, then it will take a while. But that's what I'm hoping. That's the star I'm aiming for. Is if I sacrifice that time, if I invest that time, if I think about everything that way, and if I suffer, but suffer in the way that I choose, then I hope that you will be right, Hungry, that the rest of the game does meet that level too. But I do know for a fact that if just the model didn't meet it, then I don't think anyone would have any hope for it at all. So I'm glad that I went through this process, because I think this was, to go back to Coesta's question, this was sort of the beginning of me. What do they call it in the Matrix? Beginning to believe. You know, when he starts realizing how to bend the Matrix properly, and Morpheus says he's beginning to believe. That's sort of, I think, when I had that moment when I started this. But, you know, before Neo does that, he has to jump off the building, right? And fall. Nobody makes the first jump. And I think a lot of those videos from before, when I was messing around with open worlds, when I was trying to hire a team, when I was trying to do all this stuff, I think that was the part of the story where it's like, oh yeah, I just got to free my mind. And then he runs off the building and falls and into the concrete. And then everyone's like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Nobody makes the first jump. I think that's, in retrospect, that's kind of what that felt like now. And now I'm beginning to believe. I think this is the part, this is why I'm so excited for this video to be done, so I can tell everyone about it. But yeah, but that's, to answer both those questions, that's sort of, yeah, it started at the model, and that's why I think that way now. Hungry Duckling says, I got a lot more invested in this game while you were making the model on stream. Oh, thank you. Attitude in game dev, just how good the model looked made the project stand out. Good to know. Well, that's the plan, right? That's what you want. So thank you. I'm hopeful that then that applies to everything else. But yeah, man, that's good. That's good to know. This is like one of 3 projects I'm following. Interesting. You know, you actually might be... Is Hungry Duckling literally me? Oh my god, because I am a bit like that as well. I'm very selective. I only follow like 3 people on YouTube. I don't like to follow a lot of things. So the fact that you're only following 3 and I'm one of them, man, that means a lot. That really does. Anyway, I want to give this little scene one last watch through and see if there's anything that stands out that's off about it, and then I might wrap up. So we'll give us another watch.
On to her suit. Now, my original plan was to get the suit from her previous model and just resize it a bit and put it on a new model. But when I tried doing it, I found that it didn't fit. Like, it just didn't fit her anymore. It looked goofy. And I thought, oh no, is she going to need a new suit? And she was going to need a new suit.
So I've got a sketch here of the current design. Now I can see a bit more easily just how kind of bulky it is. So I did a sketch of a more simplified version, and then I tried another variant down here. I think a more angular form.
So just before I continue, if you guys notice anything off, just in chat, just tell me if you think, oh, this part was like, you could have not needed this or whatever. I'm part of the reason I'm doing this live is so that you guys can give me some feedback on this too. So yeah, I'll continue it. But if there is something that kind of sticks out to you, don't hesitate to bash it, because that's why I'm here.
It'll make Gabby look a bit more graceful as she moves. With the original, I can see now why this was awkward. I didn't quite like how bulky these bits got, especially here, when you compare them to the knee. So I tried to do something a bit more tapered, and it actually sits a little higher to allow for the knee pad, but it kind of tapers down. Instead of having this big bit on the side, I've rotated it around to the front. I remember if you...
Oh, hold on. We got a Twitch notification. Thanks, Pudikani. Good to see you again, man. Thanks for cheering 100 bits. I finally revisit the progress stream. Thanks for joining back. We're just about to wrap up for today, but this is just the little section I've been working for this devlog for Gabby's model, which is this big devlog I've been working on for a few months now. But I'm making steady progress on it again, so I'll resume it though, so we can see the rest of how this is just one section out of like 7 chapters. But this is on the armor design.
Times where bending the hips with this in the way was getting kind of complicated. This would always like clip into her hip. So I thought, all right, well, let's try and maybe move that somewhere. I've pulled it down a bit and rotated it. I've also tried to make sure that the bits on the inside of her leg go down like that, so that there's room for her hips to move. Whereas the old one, it kind of goes up half. And yeah, you can see what I mean here. Like if you would imagine what it would feel like to sit down wearing this, I don't imagine it'd be that comfortable. It should feel more natural to wear. I've gotten rid of all of these pieces. This whole bit was a big pain to animate, and I've instead replaced it with something a bit more streamlined. There's a bit more room for the joints to move because it has this sort of shape instead of a flatter shape. I think it'll work based on the drawing. I'm going to try and model a low poly version of these pieces. But I'm going to see if these basic shapes will work.
With their previous model, I had to make some compromises with the suit. The original concept had these knee pads on them, but when I tried to model these in 3D, I just couldn't get it to fit because of all the skinning issues I had with her knees, and I couldn't get the knee pads to weight correctly to the skeleton, so I discarded them. But as a result, when putting it on a more anatomically correct model, it looks goofy. So this time around, I wanted to make sure the knee pads stayed in. I also wanted to make the suit's silhouette more form-fitting and reduce a lot of the detail.
I've made some headway on getting the armor for the leg, just the basic shape, just to see if it will actually work. So based on this concept, which I've added some color to, I have made just this basic shape, and I've made sure to test it in this pose so that I could see the knee bending. And if we look into this little bit, this is what I was wanting to know. It seems to fit pretty good. Like, I could bend Gabby's leg and the armor doesn't clip into itself. I think even with the Arc System Works models, if you bend everything enough, it will start clipping. AAA games get away with it, so I'm not too worried. It's not only more out of the way, and there's gonna be less rigging problems, but it also is like more practical and functional as armor. It was good that I could check this first before going in full detail.
When I first designed her suit, I thought all of these little screw holes and rivets and details were really cool. But having now drawn it hundreds of times, I realized they're not really that cool, they're just annoying. So I simplified the design down, I took all these greebles out, and kept the knee pads.
Managed to clean up this middle bit a little. I would like for there to be room with the UVs that I can make a sharp outline around these. I also made a start on the boots. I'm not particularly excited about designing shoes, but I guess that's what I found myself doing on this very day. It's got to be practical, and you got to be able to bend the foot and move it and have it still look good, and it's actually pretty alright. I can also bend the foot, and the joints there will work as well. Did some work mainly on the thigh bit.
I think just one thing I'm probably going to have to do, because I do cut between different days. I was watching the Star Wars DVD extras a few weeks ago, and they do this thing where because they had, I don't know if you guys know this, but when George Lucas was doing the prequels, he actually did have a devlog, like an online webisode behind the scenes, and this wasn't on YouTube, this was before YouTube existed, but on the Star Wars website, and these episodes you can actually find on the DVDs, and in their documentaries they have a little watermark in the corner with the filming date on it. So just imagine that there is one there. I'll add it in a bit later, in post, as they say. But I'm going to have a little in the corner, I'll put like a little date watermark so that you know what day it was filmed on. So if you see cuts like this, where it's like changing time of day too quick, I hope that will kind of alleviate that a little. So I'll resume
this
it.
Weird shape of the vents, and it has this kind of asymmetrical, but it is still symmetrical, but it's like angular. These are the same vents as on the boots, and the key was to make sure that they're evenly spaced out. I was able to do that by making these into instances. If I move one of these up and down, the rest will also move, and that's really important because that area around the edges, we need to have line work that is the same thickness for all of them. So if we look at the old textures, for instance, you can see they're a bit irregular shapes, and I've tried to get it so that there's like, you know, line work, and it's very, very jagged. And I've started work on the UVs for the rest of everything else. It all comes down to the texturing workflows. I'm just using a grid to test it out at the moment. Every one of these little pixels is like where I can put a line. It has to be UV XY aligned.
All right, so that's sort of the armor segments at the moment. What are we reckoning? Okay, we got some comments. Sierra says oh no, that's about, we'll get to that in a bit. You guys talked about games. There was someone said something about the editing. Where was it? Hungry Duckling says, I feel like there should be a little more breathing room between sentences. Okay, I think I know which parts you mean. It's the daily footage cuts, because those are cut pretty aggressively, and maybe too aggressively. If you're noticing that it's too quick, then I've done it wrong. You shouldn't notice anything. So I think I should be able to fix that. I don't know how easy that is to fix. if there's a way I can select all these and just add a bit of time to each of these clips, I don't know if this will break it. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go through each one and just lengthen the cuts a little bit. I think I get what you mean though. Because I was really worried this would be too boring, so I wanted to cut it super close. But yeah, it is a bit too close. Coesta says, I don't think I can be critical about your editing. If I had it my way, the video would just be all the footage played in full chronological order. Dude, that'd be like 6 hours or so. It'd be a lot of footage. If you're also by the way, if you're also including all the live stream VODs, yeah, no, that would be like the video would be like a couple days long. Which no, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, just go watch the stream VODs. I do actually have to start cutting those in as well, because these bits I've got here were recorded offline. These aren't even the stream VODs yet. So that'll be I don't know. I'm not even sure if I want to go in and look at those because there's so much. Like that's most of the footage is the stream VODs. And it's a lot. But I know that there are some good moments in there. I think especially for the animation, I did lots of there's good clips for the animation. Because here's the thing, by the way. This video is not even about the animation yet. This is just the model part. The part 2, which I'll do next, is just going to be animation. So when we were doing all the Sporticus research and the gymnastics reference, and that is the next video. This is all the work I did before that. And it's already like over an hour. So I'm really looking forward to the animation one though, because that was really, really fun and really frustrating. And also like implementing it in Unreal when I was trying to work out blend modes and all that stuff. But that's not even like, that's part 2. That's like still a while away. Mongo says, I think the quick cuts add to your frenetic image of someone who has voices in his head. I mean, maybe the quicker the cuts, the more. Maybe I should do a thing where the more schizophrenic I start talking, I do the cuts even more disjointed and fast. And then when I become more sane, I spread the cuts out and do them less aggressively. That'd be funny. Sarah says, all the days of footage playing at the same time and just all the mic audio overlapping. Oh, yeah, sure, man. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll get on that right away. I'll do it like a 50-track long file of just all the stream VODs playing at once. Sarah says, I'm rather curious how you pulled off some of the smears. Yeah, so that'll be the next devlog. We won't get into that in this one yet. But yeah, that was a funny little... It's funny. You'll find it funny. Everyone probably thinks it's some high-tech thing I did, but it's really not. It's actually quite simple and stupid, but it works. It works. Fox8 says, what's the difference between gymnastics and parkour? I'm probably not the guy to ask, because I'm neither of those, but I visually see a difference in that gymnasts are much more rigid and controlled, whereas gymnasts are more casual and loose. That was the reason why I chose gymnast reference, because I wanted Gabby to be very rigid, but not like bulky in a sense, like elegant and firm, but not loose. Like that's kind of I don't know. Because I mean, you just look at her design. The armor is tight fitting. The hair is sharp cut. Like it isn't, it's very, there's no like gradients. There's no softness. There's no diffusion. And I think parkour has that kind of element of loose boundaries, loose posture, loose clothing, which is not, I don't think that's who Gabby is. And plenty of games do parkour anyway. I think if you want parkour, Mirror's Edge exists. That's kind of, you can't beat... Like, I don't know. I see a lot of games. Mirror's Edge did this best, and lots of games that do it are just trying to be Mirror's Edge. And I don't want to just be Mirror's Edge. Like, that's not really what I want. I want to do my own thing. So, my own thing is, well, I don't really like the loose, flowy, parkour-y. I like rigid, undiffused, sharp, which is like the opposite. And I just think it's cooler. And that's who Gabby is. So, that's why I chose that. But in terms of the actual technical differences, you'd have to ask someone that has actually done parkour or gymnastics. I couldn't really describe it. But I can just see that they do it different, you know? Performance versus expression, says Coesta. Yeah, I suppose. Sarah says styled, but still feeling trained. It's like she's experienced, but some of her personality comes through in the movement. Yeah, I mean, that was part of the intention as well. And I think because a lot of people pick parkour, it's hard to get a read on a character, what makes the character different, if every of their competitors is also doing parkour. And I think there's that assumption that parkour characters have a certain personality, right? Like, Faith, you kind of know just from her appearance what her personality is. Like, the whole thing with her is that she's like a freedom fighter, rebel. She hates the establishment. That's sort of like, that kind of fits with, in my view, that kind of fits in with a loose boundaried, diffused kind of person, you know, where it's freedom. That's kind of who Faith is. I don't like being, because the whole premise of the game is this government surveillance. That's like one of the themes. And it's like anti-government, anti-establishment or whatever. And that's not really what I want to do, because, I mean, it's kind of cliche. Like, every game is doing that now, where it's corporation bad. That's like every story now. And it's not really what I want to tell. Like, I don't know. I don't really feel particularly strongly about that idea. So, but with Mirror's Edge, that's why a lot of people that try doing Mirror's Edge fail, because I think Mirror's Edge actually believed it. And a lot of people that do it they just like Mirror's Edge, but they don't commit to the idea or the source as much. Because you got to remember that Mirror's Edge was written by Terry Pratchett's daughter, who's like an actual writer, where most people that are copying Mirror's Edge are just indies like me, and we aren't. You have to kind of really, the source material or the issue, whatever it goes over, I think it has to be really close to you, not just because you played a game that had it and you liked the game. Like, the actual thing the idea removed from any game has to resonate with you. I think that's why a lot of games couldn't beat Mirror's Edge at what it's trying to do. But yeah, Faith's whole vibe, it fits, it's congruent with that theme, where it's like, she's lightweight, she's sort of like diffused and hard. She's evading people all the time, running on rooftops, and has loose posture, doesn't like rules. She likes freedom. And I think gymnastics feels like there's too many rules for someone like Faith, which is why I would guess. I know parkour probably has it as well, but it's more loose. It's more freedom of movement, kind of like Faith's attitude. But with Gabby, I don't think that's not really her character. She's got a different set of... There's a different thing the story's about. And I think I figured out at some point, after listening to the voices for long enough, the voices told me that it had to be this way, where the issues that Gabby is going to have to deal with, she has to be a actualized, you know, that the solution is being actualized and strong and defined. Whatever problem she's going to have, that's going to be her solution. And I think when you give her a gymnastics movement, it sort of fits. I don't know. It just kind of fits into that idea somehow. I don't know. I like it. And also, it looks cool. I could just say that. It just looks cool. You know? I could just say that, but, you know, there's a bit... That's kind of what I think, but it also does look cool to me, so... Now, some of you said... Because I guess in terms of editing, I'm pretty... The stuff I'm going to have to do, it's going to take a bit of time, so I'm going to do the rest of this off stream with keyframing it and loosening up the cuts a little. But before I head off, there was... You guys were talking about something just in chat here I wanted to pitch in on here. With games. And this will be the thing I sign off with, I guess. And... Because we were Hungry Dunkling, you were talking about the projects you were following, and you brought up a game that I've heard of that I wanted to ask about. Where was it? I'm just scrolling up a little. Coesta says, I wish I was still super excited for Ultracool, but I think I burnt myself out with the 1,000 hours. So this game, I've heard of this game Ultrakill for ages, and I have no idea what it is. Can someone explain to me what the deal is with that game? Because I've seen it everywhere, And I know it's been in the works for a while, and I don't know if it's like come out yet or something. I don't know what the situation is, but I've heard it's really good. And I'm curious if it's one of these projects I should be keeping an eye on, because I don't like to bombard my information diet with too much. That's why I've got the flip phone now and everything, and I don't spend a lot of time browsing Twitter anymore. But I do want to have like maybe 5 projects that I want to, or like 5 things that I want to follow. And I've got a few I'm already following already, but there's this thing I've kept hearing about, and I'm curious if it's worth looking at. Farplane says Ultra Kill is a boomer shooter. Interesting. It's like Foxator says it's like Doom, and Farplane says it's not like Doom. I guess I'll have to find out. But I'm curious now. I gotta look it up. Because I'm curious because I've only seen little bits of it, and I have a feeling it's one of these. Oh, it's early access. Okay. That's what I thought, because this is something I was curious about. Because this, from the looks of it, I'm just looking at it on Steam. Because I remember seeing this on itch years ago. So, okay. This does look really cool. Because I wasn't sure who it was for or what it was. But all of the things I've talked about for the last few months, I can see it here. And I imagine... I just don't know how they're doing... I'm really curious how they're doing early access for... Because I'm assuming it's a single-player game, right? And usually, from what I've seen, it's usually a bad idea to do early access for single-player. Because there's lots of games where that hasn't worked. I mean, you guys have probably heard of some even from recently, where it's like, you know, because I think the reason why I find this so interesting, because I knew it was in development, but in early access for this kind of game is interesting, because most single player games that go early access, they end up, everyone turns on them eventually, because, you know, maintaining an early access game is really hard, which is why a lot of them don't, like, after a few years, they kind of slow down, because usually early access doesn't make enough to actually fund development for very long. So a lot of the time you'll end up... That's kind of why early access games have that reputation, right? Where it's like any early access game gets abandoned and it's usually not worth buying. But it's really interesting seeing Ultra Kill as the exception. I'm really curious what's going on with that. I don't know. Because I know you guys probably know more about it than I do. I'm just really curious. Prophecy says, wait, he's never played Ultra Kill? I mean, no. Like, what do you think? I'm sitting here playing games all day? I mean, I know that's what all the game dev streamers do. You know, they're all playing their World of Warcraft and stuff. But no, I don't really play a lot of games. The only games I'm playing, like, at all, maybe like once every couple of weeks, I'll boot up this TV here and I'll play a bit of, you know, Ratchet and Clank 3 or something, and that's it. But I don't know, because I avoid lots of new games. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I just don't like. But maybe I'll stop avoiding games if this one is worth it, you know. You kill things really fast, and it's like Skate. Interesting. I've never quite heard a pitch like that. That's quite cool. Oh, it's fully polished, but only 2 or 3-ish of the... Wait, really? Only 2 or 3 levels. That's pretty... Hold on. Coesta, can you elaborate? How long are the levels? Because that's so interesting. Because, I don't know, most of the time when I see people do this, and this is me, like, I just to put it out there, I think this is quite impressive. And this is really cool. And it's very exceptional. I guess what I find so cool about it is that most normal early access games I've seen, this is an exception. Most normal ones I've seen that try to do this, they have this thing where they'll have like 3 levels in early access, but then, like, you know, because, you know, it takes a while to make a game, and then people get kind of sick of waiting, and then they kind of turn on the whole game, and they, you know, they kind of lose hope for it. And it's interesting to watch. This is like the only game I've heard of where that hasn't happened. And I'm really curious what they're doing, because it's just interesting. They're doing something right, obviously. But I think part of the thing that deters a lot of people from early access is the fact that, from what I know about it, this is why I'm really surprised to hear that it's only got 3 levels. Because I remember running, because I had it, I explored this option for Feline a few years ago, and the guy I was talking to told me that to avoid doing that, because most games that do this, there's an expectation that you release levels like every month or something for early access, which is why mostly it's not single player games that do it. It's like multiplayer games. So if you have like a multiplayer game where you do monthly updates, like balance patches or new maps, because multiplayer maps are way faster than single player maps to create, because you don't have to make them these big levels. But yeah, I've always heard that doing it for single player games is a bad idea. So I don't know. Man, it's really impressive watching a game like Ultra Kill pull it off somehow. I'm just so fascinated by it. It's an arena. Oh, is that right? Okay. So yeah, because I don't know what kind of levels they are. I don't know if they're like linear levels like the Doom levels were, or if they're different. Because if they're arenas, then that's lots of replayability, which makes sense. Because yeah, you couldn't do linear levels in early access for very long, because then, as I've learned the hard way, they do take a while. And if they take too long, and if it takes like 6 months to create 3 levels, I don't know. I think that's what, oh, I almost knocked over my drink. I think that's what most people like will happen. But I think players expect there to be a constant, like, how often does this get updated? I'm just curious. When was the last update for this? Because I think when you do early access, there's an expectation that it's constantly being changed, which for single player games is not always, like, that isn't always possible, just because, like, you know, of how it is. It's not like a live service most of the time. Okay, it's pretty frequent. Oh, this is like merch stuff. Is there a feature is there patch notes, events and announcements? Okay. April. That's like once a month ish. Not exactly, but close. All right. I'm just curious. I thought it was really cool. Sierra says it depends on the level. There's linearity to them, kind of weaving between arenas, but there's also a lot of non-linearity. Okay. All right. Well, I'll have to check it out then, because everyone's saying very positive things about it. And you guys have all heard of it, of course, so it must be pretty good. Made by one guy too? Oh, that's awesome. That's even better. Yeah, because, yeah. Well, that would explain probably why it been work. Because I remember hearing, like I said, I saw this on itch like 5 years ago. So, man, that's really cool. Good on him. Like, I think that's a really good example for solo dev. I just wonder how he's pulling it off, because that can't be cheap, doing stuff like that. Anyway, I'll have to look at that at some point when I get time. What else did you guys say about it? Does Raymond still play games on a CRT monitor? Yes, kind of. So I have some games on my computer here that I just play normally, but when I do play games, like usually it's like at night or something, and I've turned the computer off. I don't know what it is, but I know PC gaming is like great and all, but I find it just better for me as a developer to have a separation between like work and not work. So when I do get time to just wind down or play anything, I have like an old TV from like, I don't know how old this is. I found it on like Gumroad for like $30. And I like it though. It's standard. It's low res, but I like it. But I have a Wii and a PlayStation 2 plugged into it. And I have a collection of games from like my childhood that I just revisit. And that kind of does it. Like, I don't really have a compulsion to buy new games that much. Because, what's the saying? It's like some Stoicism or Buddhist thing, I think, where you should make do with what you have or be satisfied with what you have. And I don't know if you guys saw that video I made about worshipping your tools. That's kind of what that is about, is finding the treasure in what you already have. So for that reason, I kind of don't shop around too much for new stuff. But unless it's really good. So that's why I'm curious about Ultra Kill, because it looks really good. And it's like, oh, is this worth me like venturing out and trying something new or not? Most of the time it isn't, but that looks pretty good. Oh man. I keep splashing my drink. Hungry Duckling says, I really want a CRT, but like nobody in my country has been selling them. Oh, that's a shame, man. That's unfortunate. I got really lucky with mine. I don't know what it's like now. Like I bought this like 5 years ago. And yeah, I don't even know if it's a good one, honestly. Like, there's probably better ones out there, but it was literally so cheap. It was crazy. I'm like, oh, I can't say no to that. You know, everyone out there nowadays is like, oh, I'm going to spend $3,000 on a 4K television so I can watch Dune. And it's like, no, just get a $30 used CRT. I think it's like 15 inches. It's tiny, but I don't need a big... I kind of like the small screen, honestly. I like it small, because then it doesn't dominate your... It's not a massive portal into the warp, you know? It's just a tiny little, you know... I don't know, I like it. I like the small screen. And then, you know, kind of like we were doing with UI, if it holds up at standard def, then it holds up. If it doesn't hold up at standard def, then it's probably not good. That's my rule. So I'm going to be using this later to test it. Once I do the interface, I'm going to be plugging this into the computer and testing it. It's going to be quite fun. I did, actually, before I go, I did do something recently that you guys will like. Because you guys were asking about a CRT filter in the game. Now, I'm not promising I can do this. Not a promise. But I did hack around with something over the weekend. Thanks so much, Timothy, for the 2 Canadian. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. I did do this recently, though. So this is relating to Gabby's model. I did a comparison using Reshade. Now, this is a CRT filter. It looks pretty close to my real TV. And no, I'm not going to put this in the game. I know that you're probably wondering, oh, is the game going to have a CRT filter? This is doing some other weird hackery using some DLL file thing. I don't think I could actually get away with putting this in the game because it's not very performant. But I just wanted to get a screenshot, just applying the Reshade to the Unreal editor and just taking a screenshot of her model, of her old and new one. Because I kept thinking, standard definition... I'm realizing now how brilliant standard definition is. I mean, you look at the old model and new model, because I didn't even know the stuff about SD at the time I was making this model. But you notice how it kind of just reads better? I don't know if you guys noticed that. But you can make out the lines still. You can make out her eyes still. You can make out where her hair and her fringes and the suit. Whereas here, you know, her eye is kind of half covered here. You can't, like... You could barely see the tank top singlet. It sort of gets pixelated into the nether. Her hands are all kind of, wrists are bent all weird. And then you sort of go to the new one and you can see that it just, like, it kind of changed my perspective looking at this. Oh yeah, and Hungry says, yeah, people can just install Reshade themselves. Yeah, that too. And you can configure it just the way you want. So yeah, I've tried to configure it here so that it matches my real TV. But it's probably, I don't know, it's probably not exactly right, but it's close enough. But this kind of changed my perspective on what standard definition means. And it's not called low definition. It's called standard definition, right? It's not that it's like low res, it's standard res. And I think what that really means is that res should be the standard you aim for. When they say standard def, I think what it means to me now is that if you design something for standard def, you should be designing it for standard def, in that if it doesn't hold up at standard def, then you haven't done a good job. Like, it has to meet, that's like the bar is, the fidelity bar you should aim for is the standard one, the standard definition. That's sort of how I see it now. Because I don't know, I haven't really thought about those two words combined together that deeply until just recently. Because a lot of people just, it's SD? Oh, that's low res, that's pixelated. It's like, no, that's not really what it means. It means that it's the standard. And I don't know, I just had a thought about that this week. And I thought, you know how I think Terry Davis said that 640 by 480 was like the divine resolution? I think I'm starting to understand what he meant now, because I don't know. I'm finding that everything I'm starting to do since this model has looked good at standard definition, whereas before that point it didn't. And I don't know, I think that's just interesting. So, yeah, anyway. So that's, I don't know if any of you ever wondered why it's called standard def. This is just my made up reason, but I think that could be why. Maybe it's not doesn't actually mean low res. It means it's the standard that you should aim for. That's why it's Anyway, so I think that'll about do us for this week's stream. Thanks for joining me for editing. I hope. I know you guys have been all waiting so long for this video, but I'm getting through it. Okay. The hard drive hardware, the backup hardware is all functional now. Over the weekend, I'm going to be trying to move the drive paths to the new one. Because all this footage is all on the new drive, but I haven't started using it as the live drive yet, just because I know that if I change the destination, all this footage that says like, oh, this is located in this drive, it's going to have to change the drive letter and it might screw it up. So I didn't want to do that before the stream in case it lost all the footage. But I'm going to, hopefully by next week, that'll be finished and I'll just be on using the flash storage instead, and it's all going to be faster. But yeah, also for the website, I haven't made any visual progress, but I think I have a name now. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because I have to register the domain and I don't want you stealing it. But I think I've got a name and I'm trying to design a logo. And I got to do a bit of paperwork on it. But I think I know what the name is going to be. So anyway. Sarah says, something you might appreciate. Ultrakill has options for vertex wrapping. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, I really have to check that out then. Maybe tonight if I get time. Anyway, but yeah, thanks for joining me for another session. Thanks for joining me on the journey, and I guess I'll catch you guys next week with whatever I am up to at that point in time. What's the name? No, I'm not telling you, Mr. Crimson. No, you'll find out, okay? I don't want to say by next week because I don't know if there's anything else I have to do besides the domain registration. There's going to be a few things I'll have to do, but you'll see. You'll see. I like the name. Anyway, thank you guys. I will catch you next time for the John Feline stream.